Presumptive Democratic nominee Joe Biden sounding off on the Breakfast Club talk show, saying the choice for president should be an easy one for African Americans. It's become controversial. Watch.
Well,
Thanks so much. That's really our time. I apologize.
You can't do that to black media.
I can't do that to white media and black media because my wife has to go on at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
Oh, I'm in trouble.
Listen, you got to come see us when you come to New York, VP Biden.
I will.
It's a long way until November. We got more questions.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
It don't have nothing to do with Trump. It has to do with the fact I want something for my community. I would love to see.
Take a look at my record, man. I extended the voting rights 25 years.
Well, let's bring in Fox News contributor Karl Rove. He, of course, is the former White House Deputy Chief of Staff to George W. Bush. Karl, good morning.
Good morning.
As noted, you worked in a White House that I covered, so you'll understand if I have to interrupt you rudely to get to President Trump in a moment or so. But in the meantime, we want to talk some presidential politics. First of all, your reaction to those rather remarkable comments.
Yeah, suggestion that you're not truly black unless you support Joe Biden for president. Really unusual. People are not allowed to have independent thoughts. They have to be, if you're black, you have to be for Biden. Really unusual. There's another part of the interview that I also was struck by. He said, I get overwhelming support from the black leadership, young and old. Every poll shows me way ahead. And it's not just, I hear this, oh yeah, all blacks are rich, Biden. But young guy, look at the polling data falling. Analysts say it's off by half. Come on, man, give me a little break here. This is where I come from. I mean, what was that?
Yeah.
I mean, a little strange.
Simone Sanders, let's be fair to the Biden campaign. She just in the last few moments has started tweeting about this. Let's get two of them in there and get you to react. Vice President Biden spent his career fighting alongside and for the African-American community. He won his party's nomination by earning every vote and meeting people where they are, and that's exactly what he intends to do this November, adding the comments made at the end of the Breakfast Club interview were in jest. But let's be clear about what the VP was saying. He was making the distinction that he would put his record with the African-American community up against Trump's any day, period. Sounds like cleanup on aisle 3.
Yeah, and not particularly effective. Look, he should be saying I misspoke, because that was the candidate himself saying, if you're black, you got to support me. If you don't support me, you're really not truly black. I mean, that was a way over the top. But look, we've come to sort of expect this, and I read that other quote just because it's emblematic of the interview. I mean, I thought that when he got off the trail, because Ed, you and I have both been on presidential campaigns, particularly primary campaigns. You're in a different town every night. You're sleeping in a strange bed in a strange hotel. You're moving for, if you're the candidate, you've got a lot of pressure on you, a lot of things to do. I thought when he got back to Delaware that these kind of missteps and the inability to string together two sentences would disappear, because he's at home, he's able to walk downstairs and go to his rec room and face the camera. But it's gotten worse. It hasn't gotten better. And I think he needs to step back and maybe think about what he says before he says it.
And that might be an important point to underline what's happening in the polls right now. Let's quickly get through. Fox News poll, brand new one. Biden opens up 8-point lead. 48% to 40 over the president. You got to remember that's national, number one. Number two, you got to remember there are battleground polls that CNN and others have been pointing out that suggest the president is doing better in the battlegrounds that will decide this election. But secondly, men versus women in the new Fox poll found a massive gender gap. Biden leading by 20 points among women, the president leading by 7 points among men. React to any part of that, Karl, but I want to work it into what you just said, which is Joe Biden might be doing better in the polls because he's been in that basement, not commenting as much. Now when he comes out and makes the comments we've just played, does that have an impact on the poll numbers down the road, perhaps?
Well, it may. Look, first of all, a lot of polls show the gender gap. At this point, I like looking at sort of the average of all of the polls, and I like trying to see if the same thing sort of appears in polls, regardless of where they end up, whether a 3-point margin, a 5-point margin, whatever. And yes, there's a gender gap in this election. Women tend to support Biden. Men tend to support President Trump. I want to take a look, though. Let's be careful about this. The Biden-Trump gap. In late March, Biden was leading in the Real Clear Politics average by about 7 points. In April and early May, it dropped to 6. Early to mid-May, it was dropped to under 3. And now, even with the Fox poll, it's at 5.5. So Biden had a bump as he basically secured the nomination of the Democratic Party, and that began to erode. Now, the question is, we've now had 2 polls showing him with a double, with either an 8-point lead or an 11-point lead in the Quinnipiac. We have a bunch of other polls showing him with a 2 or 3-point lead. We need to sort of see where this settles out. But the fact of the matter is, this race is going to be close. Neither man has a sustainable lead over 50. It tends to be low single digits. There's plenty of people who will yet to be decided. We're all focused on coronavirus right now. We're focused less on politics. It's going to be interesting to see as we begin to turn more to politics. Does Biden do better because people are hearing him more, or does he do worse because people are hearing him more? We don't know.
Are there gaffes that blow up in his face? Quick last thing. We've got a little bit of breaking news that just crossed. Joe Biden's accuser, Tara Reade. There have been new questions raised about whether she's been consistent in her account. We've heard some of that aired, but just in the last few moments, Doug Weider was the attorney for this accuser, Tara Reade, and he's now saying he and his firm no longer represent Tara Reade. Again, we got to get some more context and more facts here, but broadly speaking, Karl, this is something that's been out there as an issue, her sexual assault allegations, but now her attorney is saying, well, this firm is no longer representing her. Obviously, there could be a whole bunch of reasons why they change. People change attorneys, but there have been questions about her account.
Yeah, and in fact, yesterday we had, she had served as an expert witness in some trials, and we saw yesterday a series of stories of people going after her, saying she overrepresented her credentials and was an untrustworthy witness, and they need to revisit all of those trials in which she served as an expert witness. So, it's a sign that, if you pop up in a high-profile thing like this, everything is going to be scrutinized and questions are going to be raised.
It is.
But yeah.
And real quick, I just want to get in another fact, because I was trying to read the statement quickly and I didn't want to misquote it. But this attorney is saying the firm, by no means is this a reflection on whether then Senator Biden sexually assaulted Ms. Reade. On that point, our view is the same held by the majority of Americans. They cite a poll, and they go on to say, we genuinely wish her well, hope that she as a survivor is treated fairly. We have and will continue to represent survivors regardless of the alleged predator status or politics. So we just want to get that in, that they're saying this is no reflection on her allegations, the truth or the validity of it. Final point, Karl?
Well, it's still not going to be helpful to her case. I mean, it's going to cause people to speculate why they did this, and unless they spell out why they did it, it's not going to inure to her benefit.
All right, Karl Rove, we appreciate you rolling with the breaking news. Have a good weekend.
You too.